Handicapper Steve here, handicapping the racing from the Fairgrounds Racecourse here on Saturday. It is the 25th of March 2023. Gonna look at the stakes races on the program, including the Louisiana Derby. But before I get on to that, remember to please follow me on Twitter at Horse Racing Kit 5 for more selections for racecourses around the world, and I mean it around the world. Let's look at the stakes action from the Fairgrounds races 1, 3, 4, 8 through 12. Did you get that? Let's get to it right now because we have quite a few races to look at. The opener from the Fairgrounds, it is the Crescent City Derby. It's going for a $100,000 purse, race for 3-year-olds here, Louisiana breds. Field of 8 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground here of 1,700 meters, if you want to go by that, or the distance of ground of 1.116 on the Fairgrounds main track. 1,700 meters, 1.116. And I show the diagram, just gives me a second to look down my notes, just bear with me. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse here, who is All Night Moonlight. 5-3-1-8 for me in the superfecta. 5-3-1-8 super. Top selection of 5 horse, All Night Moonlight. This 3-year-old colt by Ransom the Moon. Ron Focek trains this one. Florent Giroux gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in a state-bred black type stakes to Fairgrounds, mile 70 yards on the 25th of February. And the horse won by 4 lengths. And basically from the rail, the horse broke on top and basically walked on the front end. You know, it set some easy fractions, quickened up nicely, earned a 71 buyer. I thought it was a very good race. Coming back here, a little tougher quality horses. Probably won't get as easy as a lead that he got last time out, but I still think he could run a good race and win today. 2 back 2nd of February at the Fairgrounds, 1 mile in the main special weight, 50,000 for state breds. He won by 8 3/4 lengths, and again, basically walked that day, even slower than the race afterwards. And when he won 15 1 to the half and 115 1 to 3/4, you're going to win off of that. And he took off clear late. An all-the-way easy victory there from the inside. And then prior to that, he ran at the Fairgrounds a good main track, 1 mile the 12th of January. He finished 6 by 7 1/4 lengths that day. He had a very troubled trip. He was bumped a few times, and he never really got going. I don't think he was really comfortable there. And then at the Fairgrounds on right after Christmas, 6 furlongs in main special weight. He finished 2nd by 1/4 lengths that day. He just kind of stalked, but he never weakened out of it, but he wanted more ground. Coming to the mile 16th, which I think he should really like, training well locally. I'm going to give him a shot on the ticket. I think your second likeliest winner is a 3 horse. I don't Venmo. Steve Aston trained. Joel Rosario gets him out. Most recently in January on the turf course here, about a mile in the main special weight for state breds. He won by 1.5 lengths that day. And very pedestrian fractions, 53 1 to the half, 120 3 to 3/4. That's harness fractions there. But 144 and 4 is, they're not there yet in harness racing for the Pacers, but soon maybe in the next, at the end of this decade, they will be probably. But this horse that day, just, he won quite easily, but he had everything his own way. Before that, I thought he had a very good place in that 12th of January race in that main special weight where he's really closing up well. If the pace is going to melt down, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets the job done. At 6-1, I'll use him in the early pick 5. But to recount my selection for the first from the Fairgrounds, it's the Crescent City Derby. Let's take the 5 horse All Night Moonlight. Give kudos to the 3 horse I Don't Venmo. 5-3-1-8 super. 5-3 in your multi-race. The third race from the Fairgrounds now, it is the Crescent City Oaks. It's going for a $100,000 purse, race for 3-year-old fillies state breds. Field of 7 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground here of 1 mile and 70 yards. A mile 70 here. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 5 horse here, Olivia G. 5-1-2-4 in the superfecta for me. 5-1-2-4 super. Top selection of 5 horse, Olivia G. 3-year-old filly by Strong Mandate. Patricia West trains one. Deshaun Parker gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came 25th of February at the Fairgrounds, 1 mile in a state-bred black type stakes, and the horse finished 2nd by 2 1/4 lengths that day. He sat back early. He was gaining late. He needed something more in the final strides of the race, but he ran his heart out. First started around 2 turns locally. I thought it was a success. Coming here, stakes quality horse is getting a little bit more ground. I think with a stronger pace in front of him, the horse could get the job done. 2 back, the horse ran the 4th February at Delta in the Premier Star Stakes over the mile. He finished 2nd by a length, and again, he sat back early, stalking a quick pace. Again, he was gaining late, just a little bit too late, but he ran his heart out there. And then a 3/4 of a mile here on the 21st January at the Fairgrounds in the main special weight. Finished 2nd by a head. Had a great stalking trip. He was closing up well late. New Destiny just had the jump on him late, who basically ran his heart out in the front end, but this horse, he ran his heart out there. Still looking for that main victory, but this horse is finished placed 5 times, always running these good races. Buyers are up to scratch. I think he can finally break the maiden in this race. I think your second likeliest one is the one-horse Alpine Mist. Most recently in the Premier Star at Delta, from a tracking position, this horse won by a length and really ran his heart out there. Prior to that, in a allowance race at Delta over the 7, he won by a length. Again, closing up from mid-pack. I thought it was a good race. He's coming to the bigger track. Shouldn't be a problem. Training well at Louisiana Downs. Half-mile drill in 48-2. Third best workout 17 a few weeks ago. I'm going to give this horse a shot on the pick 5 also. But to recount my selection for the third from the fairgrounds, it's the Crescent City Oaks. Let's take the 5-horse Olivia G. Give kudos to the 1-horse Alpine Mist. 5-1-2-4 Super. 5-1 in your multi-race. The fourth race now from the fairgrounds. It is the Costa Rising Stakes. It's going for a purse of $100,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. State breds here. Portable rails are up at 28 field. Keep that in mind. But we have a field of 16 horses entered, but only 9 could go to the Stall Wilson Turf Course, the distance of ground of 1,100 meters, or the distance of ground of about 5.5 furlongs on the Stall Wilson Turf Course. 1,100 meters, about 5.5 furlongs. Rails are up at 28 feet. And turf racing this year at the fairgrounds has been a bit of a disaster, with them not being able to run on the full turf course. And I feel bad for them. And I think that's it's just another Mother Nature wasn't cooperating with them at times last summer. So hopefully they'll fix the turf course this summer and have good turf racing next year. But it's the first time they're going to be running at the 28 feet rail setting. Everything else has been about 34 feet. So they're going to get that extra running room, but it's still a very narrow turf course. My top selection here, I'm going to go with the number 9 horse, Braun and Bro. I'm going to go 9-4-8-7 in the superfecta. 9-4-8-7 Super, top selection 9 horse Braun and Bro. This 4-year-old gelded by Gormley. Mark Cassey trains. Raylu Gutierrez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Premier Sprint at Delta, 5 furlongs 4th of February, and the horse won by 1.5 lengths that day. And he stalked a very quick pace, or not stalked a very quick pace. He sat back early, where he just he sat back early. He slowly moved his way up, and he got the job done. Changing tactics. I thought that was a very good race because normally he's a little closer. 2 back. In a black type stakes for state birds here at Fairgrounds, 6 furlongs 7th of January. He won by a neck, and again, sitting back early, he slowly moved his way up, and he got the job done. Earned 93 buyer. That was career best for him there. And then prior to that, in a state bird Optional 20 at the Fairgrounds, 6 furlongs 15th of December. He won by 3. On the front end all throughout, he was a little bit wide, but he got the job done there. He's coming to turf for the first time since May. That May race came at Belmont routing, where I just don't think he really liked routing. Also, early Belmont turf races can be very tough at times. This horse just wasn't getting there, also with the longer trip. But coming back to turf, lesser quality horses against the state breds, it wouldn't surprise me if this horse gets a good trip and wins. We'll use him on the ticket, along with the 4 horse here, Birdie's Galaxy. Florent Giroux's on this one. Placed in this race last year, closing up from mid-pack quite nicely there. Since then, he won the Louisiana Legends Sprint at Evangeline back in June, came back to run in the Monty Man in November here, where he just never really had a good trip. And then Louisiana Champion Sprint, he never really had a good trip there, but he's run his better races on turf. His hidden form could definitely win. He's training well. I'm going to give him a shot off the bench here at 6-1. But to recount my selection for the 4th from the fairgrounds, the Costa Rising, as a top selection, we'll take the 9 horse Braun and Bro. Give kudos to the 4 horse Birdie's Galaxy. 9-4-8-7 Super. 9-4 in your multi-race. Let's get over to race number 8 now. The 8th race from the fairgrounds, it's the Tom Benson Memorial. It's going for a $100,000 purse, race for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. We have a field of 10 horses heading to the Stall Wilson Turf Course, the distance of ground of 1,700 meters, or the distance of ground of about 1 mile and 1/16 on the Stall Wilson Turf Course. About 1,700 meters, about 1 mile and 1/16. Rails are up at 28 feet. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 3 horse here, Trail Ridge Road, 3196 for me in the superfecta, 3196 Super, top selection of 3 horse, Trail Ridge Road, 4-year-old filly by point of entry, Chris Block trains, Joel Rosario gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came the 18th of February at the fairgrounds, about 1 mile 16th in the Al Stall Memorial, and the horse finished 3rd by 3 3/4 lengths that day. He was very wide, which I think cost him that day. He was moving a little bit late, but he still needs something more. I think with more space on the inside posture, getting Joel Rosario up was the best finishing rider I think out of anybody in the country. He should get a trip to win here today. Two back in optional 50 at the fairgrounds, about a mile 16, 13th of January. He won by a neck and sitting mid-pack most of the race. It took him a lot to get going, but when he finally did, he got the job done. A very good 84 buyer for him there. And then prior to that, in a state bred optional 27 at the Hawthorne, mile 70 on the 2nd of December, he finished third by 4 lengths that day. And, it was his first start on dirt. I don't think he really liked it, but he ran okay, but he still needs something more from a tracking trip. But before that, on the lawn at Hawthorne, at mile 16th in the Illinois Princess Stakes, won by 2 lengths from a stupidly wide poster. It was very wide throughout, but he got the job done, going away with open lengths. Coming here locally off some decent runs, he's gonna have to jump a few buyer points, but I think he's in a good spot to make the step up in class and win. I'm gonna use him here. I think the one horse Adventuring is your second likeliest winner. 5-year-old mare by Pioneer of the Nile. Brad Cox trains. Luis Saez gets the mount. Most recently, they ran the horse long at Gulfstream. 20th of January, a mile and a half in the Grade 3 La Proviance Stakes. And the horse finished third by length. He set the pace most of the race. He got caught late. Just wasn't going the mile and a half. But she ran her heart out there. Prior to that, in the Cardinal Stakes at Churchill, mile and a half on the 24th of November. On the lawn, she finished third by 3 lengths. She needed something more late. The winner, Dalika, had the jump. But again, she ran her heart out there. And then prior to that, the E.P. Taylor at Woodbine over the mile and a quarter. The horse finished 5th by 1 3/4 lengths that day. And, set the pace, but then got beat by slightly better horses on the day. But before then, the Ladies Marathon at Kentucky Downs over the mile 5/16. The horse went by 1.5 lengths and basically walked in the front end. That was a very good run. She's making her first start locally, back to a mile 16th. She could sit close, she'd come from behind. I think in this race at 2-1, she's a very live winner also. We'll use her in the All-Stakes Pick 5 that begins with this race. So to recount my selection for the 8th from the fairgrounds, to Tom Benson Memorial, let's take the 3-horse Trail Ridge Road. Give kudos to the 1-horse Adventuring. 3196 Super, 3-1 your multi-race. The 9th race now from the fairgrounds. It's New Orleans Classic. It's a grade 2 event going for a $500,000 purse. Race for 4-year-olds and upwards. Field of 8 horses going to the main track. The distance of ground of 1,800 meters, or the distance of ground of a mile and 1/8 here in the New Orleans Classic. 1,800 meters, a mile 1/8. My top selection, I'm going to go, where are we? I'm going to go with the number 5 horse here, Rattle and Roll. 5-3-2-8 for me in the superfecta. 5-3-2-8 super. Top selection of 5 horse, Rattle and Roll. This 4-year-old colts by Connect. Kenneth McPeak trains. Brian Hernandez Jr. gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing, the 4th of November at Keeneland, a mile 5/8 in the Grade 2 Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance Marathon Stakes. And the horse finished 4th by 13 3/4 lengths that day. He just wasn't staying the trip. He completely hit the wall. It wasn't the day to win. If you take that race out of his most recent form, he's been running very good. He's been running a lot last summer. So he had a good break from last season to this season now. Stepping up into a Grade 2 shouldn't be a problem. Like I said, if you take that thoroughbred race out, the marathon race out, he's run very good. Before that, in the Oklahoma Derby at Remington, a mile and 1/8 on the 25th of September, he won by 1 3/4 lengths. And coming from the back of the pack, he was very wide, but he kept going. A very good run. Keep in mind, the second place finisher was a next out winner quite nicely. Prior to then, the St. Louis Derby at Fairmount, a mile 16, 20th of August, he won by 4 1/4 lengths. Again, sitting back early. He was a little bit wide, but he took off clear late. A very, very good race there. And then off the quick return of about a week, he ran the Indiana Derby at Indiana Grand before that over the mile 16th. He finished 7th by 10 1/4 lengths there. And, he just never really got a good clear chip. He got blocked a few times. He clipped heels, and it just wasn't his day to win. I don't think he was going to win either, but with a quick turnaround, I thought he was very overbet also. That was on the 9th of July. 2nd of July was his previous race at Churchill, mile 16th in the American Derby, where he won by 2 lengths, really closing up well. A very, very good race there. He ran the Louisiana Derby last year, where he just he just wasn't catching up as in I thought it was the best of the division last year. But refreshing here today, I definitely think he get the job done. So I'm going to use him on the ticket. I think also you have to use the 3-horse West Will Power for Brad Cox and Flavian Pratt. Most recently in the Razorback Handicap at Oakland, on mile 16th, 18th of February, the horse finished 2nd by 1 3/4 lengths that day, and he stalked on the front end. Last Samurai had the jump closing up well late, but this horse, he ran his heart out, but he was also drifting, but he earned a 103 buyer, which I thought was impressive. Prior to that, the Clark Stakes at Churchill, mile and 1/8 on the 25th of November, the horse finished 2nd by 3/4 length, and again, he sat on the front end. He got caught by Proxy late, but again, he ran his heart out there, and the Fayette, he won at Keeneland going a mile and 1/8 by 6 3/4, and basically won for fun there on the front end. A very good race. Since coming to the Cox barn, he's really become a better horse, and the buyers have been going up and up and up to triple digits his last three. Training well locally. 2-1 it wouldn't surprise me. And also wouldn't surprise me if the old man, the 2-horse Art Collector, gets the job done for Belmont and Junior Alvarado. Most recently, the Pegasus, the horse won by 4 1/4 lengths and came home with a tie career best 107 Beyer. That was a very good run for the old man. Prior to then, the Lucas Classic in October at Churchill, he finished 5th by 3 3/4 lengths that day, and he just wasn't keeping up that day. But before that, he won the Charlestown Classic on the front end all throughout, earning a 99 Beyer, and won the Alydar before that at Saratoga quite nicely, a race he won 2 years in a row. Coming here today, back to a 1/8 trip, second off the bench. I'm going to give him a shot on the ticket. He could definitely win here today. But to recount my selection for the 9th from the Fairgrounds New Orleans Classic, let's take the 5-horse Rattle and Roll as a top selection. Give kudos to the 3-horse West Will Power and the 2-horse Art Collector. 5-3-2-8 Super, 5-3-2 in your multi-race. The featured 10th race, or co-featured turf 10th race on the program from the Fairgrounds race. That's going to be a great one, I think, by the end of in the next few seasons, I think, because it's the field's having absolutely incredible the last few years. The 10th race in the Fairgrounds, it's the Muniz Memorial Classic. It's a grade 2 event going for a purse of $300,000, race for 3-year-olds and upwards. Field of 10 horses going to the Stall Wilson Turf Course, the distance of ground of about 1,800 meters, or the about 1 mile and 1/8 trip on the Stall Wilson Turf Course. About 1 mile 1/8, rails again are out at 28 feet. And my top selection here, I'm going to go to the rail horse, to the 1-horse Atone. 1-5-6-3 for me in the superfecta. 1-5-6-3 super. Top selection, 1-horse Atone. 6-year-old going by Into the Mischief. Mike Maker trains. Luis Saez gets the mount. The horse's most recent outing came in the Pegasus World Cup Turf at Gulfstream, 1/8, 20th of January. It was a success for this horse. Winning by 3/4 length, coming from the mid-pack, he really took off clear, a little bit wide, but when he got the job done, he went away with it. A very, very good race, earning a 104 career best Beyer. Prior to that, he ran the 10th of November at Aqueduct and Lounge Optional Claimer. He won by 3.5 lengths, and again, walked on the front end. Great ride by Kendrick that day. He went away with it, earning a 100 Beyer with some class relief from the last race. I thought it was a good confidence builder there. And then prior to that, in the Keeneland Turf Mile, Keeneland over the mile, he finished 8th by 7 lengths. From a wide poster, he was sent out of the gate to get good position, which I think cost him. He got overtaken by the better horses late, but he ran his heart out there. And then the Mint Millions at Kentucky Downs, 1 mile, 10th of September. He finished second by 2 1/4 lengths. Something like at Hot Brown really ran his heart out there. This horse just stalked around the race course and needed something more late. Coming here today off some decent runs, trading very well at Gulfstream. 5/8 mile drill last week in 59-2. The best workout at 36. It wouldn't surprise me if he gets the job done. Forwardly paced horses have been doing well on this turf course. I'm going to use them along with another old man here. They're 5-horse Spooky Channel for Joel Rosario and Jason Barkley. 8-year-old gun by English Channel. Most recently, in the John Conley at Sam Houston on very soft ground, a 1.5 mile, 20th of January. He finished 3rd by length. He stalked, he had lead, and then he just never quickened up. I don't know if he wanted the 1.5 miles that day, but he ran decently. Prior to that, it was his first start in 14 months in the Delberto Memorial here at the Fairgrounds on Boxing Day. About 1 mile 16th on the lawn. He won by 2 1/4 lengths, and from a tracking trip, he really quickened up nicely and went away with it. I thought it was a very good return to the races, earning a 96 Beyer. And then his previous race, you have to go to the Sycamore of 2021 at Keeneland, 1.5 miles on good ground. He won by a neck, and coming from nowhere, he really got the job done there. Great ride by Julian, and then before that he won the Remington Green, closing up from nowhere. Back to a 1.8 mile trip. He should get a good trip here, and I think he could win. He's won once on this turf course. That was last time out, and he actually ran this race in 2021 where he lost behind Colonel Liam, where he just never really showed up there. But his form coming into this season, I think, isn't bad at all. 9-2. Let's give him a shot on the ticket. But to recount my selection for the 10th from the Fairgrounds now, it's the Muniz Memorial Classic. Let's take the 1-horse Atone as a top selection. Give kudos to the 5-horse Spooky Channel. 1-5-6-3 Super. 1-5 in your multi-race. Let's get to the 11th race from the Fairgrounds. The 11th race now, it is the Fairgrounds Oaks. It's a grade 2 event going for a $400,000 purse, race for 3-year-old fillies. Field of 5 horses going to the main track, the distance of ground of 1,700 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile 1/16 on the Fairgrounds main track. 1,700 meters, 1 mile 1/16 main track here in the Fairgrounds Oaks. My top selection, I'm going to go with the number 3 horse here, pretty mischievous. I'm going to go 3-4-5-1 in the superfecta. I know a very chalky superfecta here, but I think it's going to be a very chalky race. 3-4-5-1 super, top selection of 3 horse, pretty mischievous. This 3-year-old filled by Into the Mischief. Godolphin owns and bred this one. Brendan Walsh trains. Brian Hernandez Jr. gets the mount. Horse's most recent outing came the 18th of February locally, 1 mile 16th in the grade 2 Rachel Alexander Stakes, and the horse won by 3/4 length that day. And the horse just kind of stalked most of the race, went she got the lead, she quickened up nicely, and she got the job done. 1:45, there was a little slow for that final mile 16th time, but she went away clear. I thought it was a good race after all is said and done, jumping into an 87 buyer. She should really improve with the longer trip here today, or same trip, but with these tougher competition. I think she'd get the job done. Two backs ran the Untappable here at the Fairgrounds, mile 70 on the 26th of February, December, and the horse went by 3 3/4 lengths that day. And from the rail, she sat back early. She slowly moved her way up, and when she got through late, she took off. That was a very good race there, first start locally, and then before that in the Goldenrod at Churchill, mile 16th, 26th November. First start around 2 turns. She finished third by 5 1/4 lengths that day, and she just was a little bit wide, but she was gaining late. I didn't think it was a half bad race. She's definitely been on the improve with every single race, which you'd like to see. She's training well locally. At 8-5, I'm going to use her. I think the 4-horse, the Alley's Look for Brad Cox, is your second likeliest winner. Most recently, in the Silver Bullet Day in January here at the Fairgrounds over the mile 70. The horse won by a length, and from a tracking position, she looked like she was going to get passed late by Chop Chop, but this horse fought back to get the job done. A very good race after all is said and done. Before then, the Untappable, she finished second by 2 1/4 lengths and had no forwardly pace that day. She was stupidly wide, but she was gaining that day. I thought she showed good potential after all is said and done, and then broke the main here in early December very nicely by 7 on the front end. Another horse coming back here off the bench. She's been on the improve. She's a very likely winner also. We'll use her in the All-Stakes pick 5. But to recap my selection for the 11th in the Fairgrounds, now it's the Grade 2 Fairgrounds Oaks. Let's take the 3-horse Pretty Mischievous. Give kudos to the 4-horse, the Alley's Look. 3-4-5-1 Super. 3-4 in your multi-race. The 12th race now from the Fairgrounds, it's a feature. It is the Louisiana Derby. It's a Grade 2 event going for $1 million, race for 3-year-olds here. A dozen horses are going to the main track, the distance of ground of 1,900 meters, or the distance of ground of 1 mile and 3/16 on the Fairgrounds main track. 1,900 meters, a mile 3/16 here in Louisiana Derby. And it's the longest of the domestic Kentucky Derby prep races. Of course, internationally, the UAE Derby is also at a mile 3/16. But I personally think, and I hope they do it, all final Derby prep races should be run at a mile 3/16 if the tracks could handle the distance, which I think most of them can. So in the next few years, I would love to see like the Florida Derby at a mile 3/16, the Muniz Memorial, Bluegrass, all those races for the at that trip, because I think it's it's a good stamina builder right before the Derby, and I personally I think since they increased the distance of this race, it's become better in the last 4 years since they've done it. I think it's the 4th running that they've run it at the longer trip. But let me get to my top selection here. I'm going to take the 6-horse Kings Barnes as a top selection. 6-2-5-9 for me in the superfecta. 6-2-5-9 Super. Top selection 6-horse King's Barn. 3-year colt by Uncle Mo. Tom Pletcher trains. Flavian Pratt gets the mount. Horse has been seen most recently on the 12th of February at Tampa. Mile 40 and option 75 Claymore, and the horse went by 7 3/4 lengths that day, and he stalked that day. It was a little bit wide, but when he quickened up, he went away with her, coming home with an 85 buyer. I thought that was a very good race. He is stepping up in class to stakes quality horses for the first time. Shouldn't be a problem. I think he should get a good trip, and I think he could win. I think he's not going to be on the lead, but I think he's going to be tracking, which I think should be good for this one. I think there's a lot of speed, also a lot of close in this race, and I think this race should suit up for him coming up from mid-pack here, or just off of the leaders. Two back, he ran in debut on the 14th of January at Gulfstream, 1 mile in the main special weight, won by 1 3/4 lengths. He sat back early, he slowly moved his way up, and when he got the job done, he went away with it. A very good run. He is training well at the Pletcher Winter Base of Palm Beach. Most recent work 18th of March, which was last Saturday. A half-mile drill, 49 3/5 of a second, 5th best workout of 22, and a week prior, 5 furlongs and 102 flat, 3rd best workout of 6. I think he's raring to go. He should definitely get the trip. Watch out for him late. I think your second likeliest winner is a 2-horse Instant Coffee, 3-year colt by Bolte Oro. Brad Cox trains. Luis Saez gets the mount. Hasn't been seen in 2 months. That came on the 21st of January here at the Fairgrounds, a mile 16th in the Grade 3 Lecomte, and the horse went by 2.5 lengths that day, and he sat back early. He was stupidly wide, but he went away with it late. That was a very good run. Coming home with that 92 buyer. Refreshing here, it's a longer trip, getting the extra furlong, training well. I think he could get the job done. Before then, the Kentucky Jockey Club, at Churchill, mile 16, 26 in November, he won by 1 1/4 lengths, and he was stupidly wide throughout. He was wide around 2 turns, which you don't want to be doing, but he was wide throughout. He settled well. When he quickened up, he got the job done. I thought that was a very good race there. And then in the Breeders' Futurity at Keeneland over the mile 16th, he finished 4th by 7 lengths that day. He had a very horrible trip where he's behind that day. He closed up well late, but he wasn't going to catch Forte, who went on to win next start out in the Breeders' Cup, went on to win the Fountain of Youth, and is your likely favorite for the very, very most likely favorite for the Florida Derby next Saturday. But this horse, he ran his heart out after all said and done. Refreshing here today, training well. Another horse that's been on the improve. Watch out for him. And I also think the 5-horse Disarm for Steve Asmussen and Joel Rosario wouldn't surprise me if he gets the job done. Most recently off the bench came 19th of February at Oakland, a mile and optional 100, and he finished second by 4 lengths. He didn't break so well. The winner just had the jump on him, but this horse needed the race there. It was his first start since August. It was also his first start around 2 turns. The August race came at Saratoga, 7 furlongs in a main special weight, where he won by 6 1/4 lengths that day. He sat back early, stupidly wide, but he went away with it late. A very good race there. And then before that, Churchill in June, 5.5 in a main special weight. He finished 3rd by 2 lengths. Mo Strike went on to win next start out, who won that day, won quite easily. But this horse, after all that adversity early on, he was really gaining late. He's another horse, he's the kind of horse I want to keep on the radar. I don't know if he could win today. I'll use him as an insurance plan to pick 5. But, he's the kind of horse as the season gets on, I want to keep an eye on him. But because his pedigree's very interesting with the gun runner and the tapping on the dam side. But, he looks like he wants to run a longer trip. So watch out for him here today. If he does well, he's my Belmont horse. But to recap my selection for the 12th from the Fairgrounds, the Grade 2 $1 Million Louisiana Derby. As a top selection, we'll take the 6-horse King's Barn. Give kudos to the 2-horse Instant Coffee and the 5-horse Disarm. 6259 Super, 625 to end off the All Stakes pick 5. So good luck to all, and please follow me on Twitter at HorseRacingKid5. Good luck, everybody.